It's that time of year. The start of a new season with expectations going through the roof, and club faithfuls are packing their bags to go on another ride of a lifetime in the English Premier League. Along with the new season fiesta, our boy Howard Webb is cooking up some recent rule changes. Just so we're on the right side of the law, let's have a quick glance at new rules that will be enacted in the Premier League season. And we'll start with a rule that's pretty much changed every year since VAR joined footy. You guessed right, it's the offside rule. It says that a player who is clearly offside should not become offside on every occasion when the opponent moves and touches the ball. Well, that made my head rumble. This rule simply means that even if the ball deflects off an opponent to an offside player, the goal will still be ruled out. This rule was actually introduced in the 2022-2023 season, but it'll only take effect from the new season. The aim is to make the game less mechanical and not punish players for cruel deflections. While the defenders will be happy about the new offside rule, one thing they'll be less excited about is the number of minutes they have to play each game. Just like we have multiple games passing the 100-minute mark in the 2022 World Cup tournament, we're about to see an exodus of such in the Premier League this season. Premier League teams will now play more minutes on average than any other season before this. Every second wasted in goal celebrations, injury, substitutions, and the occasional brawls in the game will now be added at the end of each half of football in the Premier League. The aim of this law is to improve the amount of time players spent playing last season. On average, Premier League teams spent 54 minutes 49 seconds in actual match events. That's pretty steep, even for the Atletico Madrids of this world. That's barely less than half of an entire game spent on everything else but playing actual football. Good thing the Premier League is bringing the clock in. Just get ready for cracking last-minute goals and nail-biting ends to many games. Now, more minutes mean more fatigue, and more fatigue, more injuries for the players. But there's an icing on the cake on the back of all this. For the first time in history, the Premier League will have a winter break. For years now, players and managers have been pretty vocal about the attrition of a downright endless schedule. Premier League teams that qualify for the Champions League have to play anywhere between 2 and 3 times each week from October. But all that congestion will be eased this season. Between January and February 2024, the Premier League will go on a 2-week winter break to help them rest those muscles. Oh, Kloppy, you finally got what you want. Guess the winter fatigue excuse is likely out of the table now. Time for new excuses now, eh? While the break is about to add some much-needed freshness to the Premier League, here's another rule that will make things as stale as 2 weeks' worth of bad cross buns. This new rule states that goalkeepers must not behave in ways that distract the penalty taker and show little regard for the game. So, all that extra puffs at the taker, epic shithousery, picking the post, throwing the ball away from the taker, and digging the penalty spot will no longer be allowed. All these shenanigans will now be punished. Emi Martinez has probably been having hunting dreams since that rule was introduced. To be fair to the guy, that rule just takes a lot of fun out of the penalty experience. Those scuffles between players and keepers before the penalty is taken, and those mind games are what makes penalty shoots so fun to watch. Take all of them out and you're left with 2 massively robotised aspects of the game that should otherwise be the most emotional. Also, goalies are really going through it. First, they have to stay on the line to save a shot, which, let's face it, should be a goal every other time. Next, they can't even do any of those things that give them an advantage in the past. Meanwhile, the penalty takers are left to do pretty much all they like with 0 restrictions whatsoever. Pretty unfair, Howard. Pretty unfair. But the game's the game, yeah? One rule that we're really stoked about is the one that allows the league to lawfully charge fans for using offensive language during games. Football is a game of passion, and as you can expect, things boil over sometimes. But fans still need some level of accountability in what goes on during the game. In the past few seasons, there have been vile, racial, derogatory, and tragedy-mocking chants by opposition fans. It's a good thing clubs can now take action against these offenders, so we see less of the ugly stuff and more of the beautiful game. Another new rule that will be implemented in the Premier League this season has to do with how unsporting behaviour is judged and punished. From the new season, players will no longer receive red cards if the referee perceives that there's 0 ill intent when going for the ball. So even during a tackle, the ref could decide whether or not to punish the player if he quite clearly went for the ball. At the end of the day, the referee is left to decide what fouls to give and not to give. Could lead to pretty big pressure from players on the referee if you ask us. Well, Howard thought of that when he introduced this next rule. From the new season, only one person from each team will be permitted to stand in front of the technical area and the coach during each match. Teams will also be disallowed from using technologies to challenge the referee during the game. This rule is to protect the linesman from pretty much any and every foul language and intimidation tactic you may think of. Which new rule are you most excited about as we cut the ribbons for the 2023-2024 season? Let us know in the comments. While you do that, if you're interested in Premier League conspiracy failures, check out the greatest players to never win the Premier League in this video. If you ever want to know players that may end up without a club after the transfer window, the link to that video is right here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification so you get the first ring once we have a new video. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.